So welcome back everybody from a very cold Edinburgh in January 2025. It's -6 outside, but I've got the fan heater on full blast here in the garage, so I'm okay. Right, what do we have here? We have the movement that you see from the last video, had the broken Center Arbor, and so I need to strip this down to repair, or have a look at the arbor to see whether it can be repaired. So what we have here is a three train Westminster chime movement. It's got the rack and snail strike mechanism. It's a Junghans clock, made in Germany, the Black Forest area. Junghans used to be the largest clock makers in the world. In fact, they probably still are. This is a W200 model, and on the front face here we have a legend here, W200, and there's also three figures here, 388. That's the date. That's August 1938. Now, I was just going to do the video to show the repair of the Center Arbor, but thanks to all the viewers of my previous video who asked me to actually show the strip down and the reassembly of this movement, which I am happy to do. As you'll see from this mechanism, sorry, the camera went there a bit berserk. As you'll see from this mechanism, it's pretty complicated, and I need to reinstall everything here so that the strike and the chime mechanisms are working correctly. So things like setting up the pallet arbor, the correct positioning of the warning wheel, even getting the autocorrect mechanism to work correctly. It's going to take some setting up. I've never worked on one of these movements before. They're all slightly different, but this one is a very nicely made clock, I have to say, so I'm looking forward to working on this. But as I reassemble, I shall go through with you exactly how I'm setting up all this. So what looks to be a very complicated setup, and yeah, it is complicated. Hopefully you'll see what I'm doing to make the strike and the chime work correctly. So let's get started. Right then, so let's disassemble this clock. What have we got to do? Well, we've got to get access to the inner wheels between the plates, and in order to do that we're going to have to remove all the pieces on the outer plate. We've got all the lever assemblies here on this side, we've got the hammer assembly on the bottom here, and on this side we've got the pendulum assembly, which is very fragile, so that'll be one of the first things we will remove, and then it will be a lot easier then to get access to the wheels inside. So first thing we have to do is take all the power off the 3 main springs. Most important that we do that first before anything else. So I've got my trusty cup here, which I shall use as a holder just to make it easy to work on, and we'll take the power off the 3 main springs here. I've got my trusty spring unwinding tool here, and each spring is held by a ratchet there. So what we do on the first one here, we should be able to wind that slowly, pull the ratchet back, and then release the energy slowly by sliding it in your fingers. This is well worth getting one of these winding tools. Don't use a key because you'll end up slipping and it hitting your fingers, and you'll be sorry. Right, that's one down. The second one here. Slowly does it. That's good. And the third. This way. This one's fully wound. It's amazing how much pressure is in there. There we go. That's good. That's down. I feel a lot safer now. I think the first thing we'll remove is the pendulum assembly. As you can see, the pendulum assembly is held in place by 2 screws here. You can see the pallet arm above there, so that will lift away once we've removed those 2 screws. I have some trusty takeaway cartons here to put the pieces in as I take them away, so we don't lose anything. And of course, before I started to remove any of these bits here, I took loads of photographs from all angles here, because it's going to be so useful when we get to putting it back together again. So please do remember to do that. You see, I'm not wearing gloves here. It's because we're going to give this movement a clean afterwards, and it's a lot easier to show you what I'm doing if I haven't got gloves on. Show you here, lifting away. Just lifts away. So the pendulum swings on that bottom bit. This is the crutch assembly here, and that's the rocker arm there. And two screws have just, two washers have just dropped out there. Now where have they come from? I think they were part of the on the inside of the pendulum assembly. Right, next I think we will remove the hammer assembly. That's an assembly which is held on by a plate here, and it's activated by this lever assembly here. So we'll disconnect the lever assembly, and then we can undo those one nut and a screw there, and that should lift away. So the lever assembly is held on by a screw. Take that off, screw it in tight so we don't lose the screw. Now the plate here that holds it has one bolt, which I believe is 6mm, which it is. Screw this side. And then plate comes off. Oh, we've got to take the ones off the other side as well. Two nuts and a screw on that side. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put this bolt back on here just for now, just to stop the plates from coming loose. Take these bolts off. No, use the socket, not your mainspring winding tool. Two nuts, one of the movement mounting plates. A big screw this side. Let's just put that back. And put the screw back in the plate. Put that down for a second. So for now I'm just going to put those two nuts back on the plate. Again, just to hold it in place. A bit less patterns to these. Nut back in the other side. The simpler I can make this for reassembly, the better. So if I put things back where they were, it's more obvious. Right. Okay. That's that. We'll go back to the lever assembly side. This is where I'll start taking these out. I can now take the main springs out. If I take the ratch assemblies off, I should be able to remove the arbors of the main springs, and then the main springs themselves will just pull out to the side. So I think we'll do that next. We will remove these mainspring ratchets and spring assemblies. And what I'm going to do for the we have the 3 trains here. We have the, let's right around, we've got the chime on the left here, we've got the main train in the center, and we've got the strike train on the right here. So we'll put we'll have a different bucket for each part again to aid reassembly. And I want to put the various pieces back, although they are duplicates in many cases. I'm going to keep them as they were originally, just in case we have different length screws or whatever in here. Or at least we know they're going back in the right place. Let's see. chime. Call it the going train. And we've got the strike side. Yeah, that makes it a bit easier. This way around, doesn't it? That's it. Spring assembly. Strike. Right, those arbors are held in the other side by a clip, a screw clip. So if I take those off, I should be able to pull those arbors out. Let's do the centre wheel first and just prove a point. So in theory, that becomes the arbor. How about that? And there's the mainspring. Out it comes. Let's put that back in like that. Good. Let's take the chime side one off. Probably heard the arbor falling out there, which it did. Now strike side. Can just get access to that, fortunately. Like that. Arbor. There we are. That's the three mainsprings out. I wonder if they've ever been out before. We'll be taking a look at the springs later anyway. That's a lot lighter now. So that's the 3 main springs out. You can actually now see the Center Arbor, the one that broke in the centre there. That's the one I've got to get out. And the way I'm going to do that, I think, is going to be by removing all the lever assemblies on this side. Of course, we are missing here the cannon pinion and the snail, and that's because that's what fell off when the arbor broke. There they are, and they were on there. You can see the snapped arbor there, so that came off. So there's the cannon pinion and snail. Okay, let's get this off. This here is the lever that goes through the front face, and that's the silent or chime switch. Right. I'll have to take all these off to be able to remove the plate to get that center wheel out, so these have to come off next. Right, these lever assemblies, just dropping levers here. That's the rack. You can see the gathering pallet underneath there. So we'll start by removing the rack assembly. And they're held on with little spring clips. I think I'll have another. Let's put that lot in. Right. This dropping arm again is held on with another spring clip. So careful not to lose those. and that's got a drop lever's got a spring on it, which gives it tension. I'm going to take a photo of that before I forget. So that spring is just held in place through the hole there, so if I just take that out, just remove that, there we go. Let's see the spring. Right, next come off. This is lever assembly at the top. That can come off next. So we have another one of those spring clips. And this has a spring wire which goes through this post here, so I have to pull it away and thread it through that post. Rock it off slowly. The tag goes through the movement, comes off. And pull it through. Intricate. Right, next we'll remove the 4/4 cam wheel, which is held on with a grub screw. Probably not unscrewed enough yet. If it comes, managed to hold it. Just put the grub screw back in so we don't lose it. And then how are we going to get this off? This silent chime mechanism is held in place. There's a fine bit of wire that's holding this assembly to the arbor there, so somehow it's got to come away. Get that off. Actually, I could probably leave that on while I make more work for myself. Just take that screw out there. I'm going to leave that on. I don't have any wire to replace that as it happens at the moment anyway, so back in the hole where it came from. Make sure it gets the thread, which I have. Okay, so now this assembly should be able to lift off. This is, it's holding that on. Is there anything I can do? Oh, okay, that's held on. There's a spring clip on the inside edge there. That's good, I dropped that on the floor. And out that comes. Am I going to find that? Not a cat and mouse chance, I think. Not a cat and mouse chance of finding it. Okay, so the last thing to remove, so we can remove the top plate, is the gathering pallet here. That's a press fit onto the arbor below. So just using some homemade levers that I made a while back. There we go. So just a press fit onto the arbor. Okay, so next step is to remove the 4 sets of nuts, and then we should be able to just lift this off. So using my 6mm socket, remove the nuts. You probably noticed from the last bit of video when I was removing those spring clips, one did fly over my shoulder, never to be seen again. So I've now ordered some more. Obviously they get lost quite often because they're easy enough to find spares of. Okay, there we go. So I want to remove this very carefully, lift it up and try and leave all the wheels in place so I can take a photograph of them again when I remove the plate. There's another nut there I forgot to take off. Why is it taking a while? There we go. Right, gently does it. There we are. Okay, let's take it out. Let's remove this wheel first. And there it is. And there we have the broken end. So that's how it used to look until that. Right, well, as you can see, the clock is pretty much now disassembled. We have the main wheel assembly here between the plates. We have the strike hammer assembly here. The various levers that go on the outer side of the clock. And then we've got the strike, the chime, and the going train main springs and various associations here. And that's the top plate. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take these all off, give them a brush clean, and then peg out the bush holes with a stick to make sure everything's very clean, and then I'm going to assemble the inner workings here of the plate and put the thing on. I'm going to do that off camera, mainly because it's a long job and this video is going to be too long if I do that. In fact, I will probably do another video if there's enough interest to show how I strip down these assemblies and check the various wheels are aligned and haven't worn, and that
to see what ones need bushings, all that. So I've got a lot to do here, just to strip it all down and then reassemble and checking that the machine doesn't leave any bushings. So I'll do that off camera and come back when that's all assembled. As it happens on this assembly, we can put this back together without too much setup of the various wheels in positions. All the alignment of pins and levers and that are all done on the outside of the clock, so the inner workings here can just be put together without too much worry about alignment. There is one exception, but I'll talk about that when I've got to that point. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll come back when this is all clean and reassembled, and we'll be ready to put the new center wheel with its new arbor in place, and I'll show that in the next sequence where I am finishing off the pinion repair.
Right, I've got the wheel here, the broken off arbor, in this chuck, which can rotate on the lathe, and then I've got a piece of aluminium here with a hole which will fit over that to keep this straight when it's been drilled. So if I just move this over the hole like that and just get it so it's poking through the other side like that, so when this rotates it keeps the shaft nice and straight. There's a pilot drill there just to drill a hole. Now we want it to be dead center, obviously, on here, and how I did that is just there. How I got that dead center with a little tool I made, which is essentially just a hollow tube with an end there, a rounded end, and I put a bradawl through it so it comes out the other end, and then if that goes if I just move this back here, if that goes over the end of there, in other words the recess goes over the end of the hole like that, and you can rotate it, and if you push on this at the same time, the hole will always be dead center. As you can see. That then gives us the start for the drill to go through. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to bring the drill over to there. And I'm going to start off with a drill to make a pilot hole there. Then we can get a larger drill to the size of the arbor that's going to go into the end there. Turning it very gently by hand. These drills are so fragile, very brittle, so they snap at the earliest opportunity. It's times like this you wish you had a smaller lathe. But hey, you can't do big things on a small lathe. Just the slightest of finger pressure on the tailstock so you're not advancing it hard. I wouldn't like to use the lathe motor to do this. It would just be too violent. More skilled lathe person could probably do it, but not me. So how far in do I want to go with this new arbor? I think the rule is 1.5 to 2 times the diameter of the arbor in depth. So we'll see. I don't know whether I'm going to have to solder it in place or use a Loctite, maybe. Might be enough. It's definitely going in. You probably can't see that much, but it is. Every couple of turns of the chuck, I'm feeding a slight tap on the drill to push it in a little bit more, so it is going in. Honestly. These are carbide drills. They cut very well, but as I said, very, very brittle and therefore snap so easily. When I was drilling the hole in the arbor, at the end of the arbor for the pin that will hold the hands in place, I got through 3 or 4 of these drills, and that was using that fine model maker's drill. Which was given to me from my sister. It was her late husband's drill that he used to use for model making, and it's just ideal for small intricate work like drilling small holes. So thanks, Anne. It's great to be able to use Andy's old equipment. It's the far end of January and we are expecting a big storm tonight. In fact, tomorrow, big storm tomorrow morning from 10 o'clock through to 5 with 60 to 80 mile an hour winds. So much so that schools have been cancelled for the day, and the church hall that I run or manage has also decided to close so that people don't try to venture in. So we could have falling trees tomorrow. We'll see. Let's see how far we go. Probably gone in about 0.8 of a mil. No, probably gone in about 6 to 8 millimeters. I think that'll be enough to be able to then get the next size drill in. Right, I've now got a 1 mil high speed drill in there, so for this one I will need to turn the lathe on to get some speed to allow it to cut properly. Okay, that's 1 mil. Now we're going in with a 1.8 drill. New arbor is 2.13 millimeters, so we're nearly there. So that's the 1.8 mil. Putting the 2.2 drill in now. There it comes. 2.2 millimeter drill. Fully home. So in theory, the arbor should fit in there. Which it does. Beauty. Beauty. And that's in quite a way, so that's in. That's in 10 mil. That should be plenty enough to lock that in place.
Okay, here we have a picture here of the Center Arbor that broke off at that point there. This end of the arbor broke off completely, and the bit that broke off, the length of that from the part where it broke off, which is right on the edge of the arbor there, to the pinhole, which is where the pin goes through and the hands are held by that pin. So that distance from there to there was 34.15 millimeters. And now what I've done, I've drilled a hole in the end of the arbor there, and I have drilled that to the depth of
8.1 millimeters. So the new arbor length, which is going to be that essentially will be 34.15 plus 8.1, which comes to 42.25. So I can now cut that arbor to length and then insert it into the hole, and I will be able to hold it in the hole because there's enough depth there with a bit of thread locking compound Loctite as I use here. So here we have the arbor cut to size, and before we use some thread lock to bond it to the arbor itself, I'm going to blue the steel, which puts a protective oxide coating on it to stop it rusting in future. And the way I'm going to do that, I've made a small tray here, and in it I've put some brass shavings that from previous jobs in there, and I'm going to heat up the brass to get an even heat, hopefully along the length, and then put the new arbor on the top, and we should see it blue, and I think it's about 300 degrees that it will blue. So the idea is to heat this up first and then place the new arbor onto it. So I'm going to put this in the vise. This is the first time I've actually tried bluing, so interesting to see how well it goes. Okay, let's just heat it up. Heat up the brass. The idea is to try and get an even heat through the brass. So let's put the arbor on the brass and see it change colour. Should start to go a straw colour first, and then work its way through to blue. That's the theory. Right, it's starting to change colour slightly now. We've got a brassy colour starting to appear. There, blue, drop that end, blue in the middle. I'm going to leave it there.
it went blue and then it just went a bit beyond that blue, but it changes very quickly. Let that cool down. I'll let it cool down on the brass. So there we have the arbor with an oxide coating on it now. It's not blue, it went a bit beyond blue, but I think the oxide coating will still help it, so that's good. And we're ready now to put that, to use some thread lock to put it into the arbor. I'm just going to use a general purpose thread lock, not a high strength. I don't think that's necessary. So just put a blob of that on the end. Push that down to the bottom, wipe the excess off. There we have it. One arbor repaired. Okay, so I've now got all the internal wheels assembled between the two plates, and check that everything is oiled nicely. As you can see, here's the new Center Arbor pin. So we did it so that the strike, chime and going train are nicely working. So we've got that together, and now we have to put all the outer components on either side of the plate. And as you saw from the disassembly, it's a selection of cams and levers, and so we have to get those back in the right position so that we get the strike and chime working properly. For example, here's a cannon pinion cam, of which, and here's the snail, and in each case these various levers ride on the cam. So it's getting the cams in the right position so that the levers function at the right time. And we've also got the self-correcting chime mechanism to sort out as well, and I'll explain that as we go along. Okay, so I've put the cannon pinion on to the Center Arbor. It's a push fit so that it turns the Center Arbor as it revolves, and I can temporarily put the minute wheel on there like that. And you can see the Center Arbor has four prongs, and the next lever that I put on will run on those prongs. So this goes on next, goes through here, so it
goes on there. Held in place, there's a small groove there where a spring clip goes in and it holds this to stop it coming back out, so I'll just put that on. Keep the right angle. Little P clip, or is it an E clip? I'm never too sure. Oh, that's good. Push that in place. Now, so that one's in place. Another lever that goes on here. This double lever here is actually held onto by a screw to this lever here, and that's the silent and chime mechanism, so we can put that on now. Take the screw out, put that on there. Screw back up. So you can see that lever there, when it's moved down, it raises those levers and essentially puts the strike and chime into a silent position because it's away from these cams. So rotate it round. 1, 2, 3, and now the tall one, to move it round until that just drops there, and at that point we put the gathering pallet onto the third wheel, just loosely at this point, like that. Like that. We have somewhere, here it is, this lever here, which goes onto this shaft here. And this one here is held in place with a spring, so I need to just put that into place. Like that. And just put it loosely in place for now. Right, we've got that in place. Now we've got the snail which slides onto here. and then we'll put the rack on its post. Goes on here, like that. And so the idea is, when that drops down, this pin here goes onto the snail, and at this position it should go onto the 11 o'clock part of the snail. At the moment it's on 1, 2, 3 on the 4th thing, so we need to rotate this round until we are on the 11, which is not far off actually. I think probably one more tooth round. One too many. There we are, that's on the 11. And that now should be in the correct position. At this point, the warning wheel is at 12. Like that. So at that point, I think we're there. The other thing that now needs to be put on is this cam wheel here, which has 4 positions, and you'll notice that 4th position has a slightly raised edge there, so we need to put that on. I'll have to just remove the rack for a moment to put that on. And the idea is that it's to go on such that it's in that lever there goes in that slot. Like that. And we'll tighten up. Grub screw holds that in place. It has to be tight. There we go. Put the rack back on. Right, we'll put the washer and spring clip on the minute wheel to hold that in place. place. I'm just going to put the spring clips on that hold the top lever. In place. Easy just to thread it on. Kick it into place. Right. And we'll put one on the rack. We'll put one on the drop lever for the rack. One more spring clip to put on this gathering pallet lever. That's it there. Right, so at that point we can just press down that gathering pallet onto the shaft, and it only needs a very, very slight tap because we don't want to push the arbor through the hole. That's all it needs. Okay, we will now assemble the hammer assembly, which has two plates that go either side of the two main plates here. And the two plates are held on by, there's a screw and the nut on one of the pillars here, and there's one of those on each side. So we'll take the plate off one side and put it on there, and then push this together from the other side. Goes on there. something like that. In the hole. Start it on this side. That comes down. Up the hole, put the screw in. Tighten up quickly. Good. Tighten up the screws. Both sides. Tighten up the bolts. See? Like that. And then the control arm. Goes on something like that. Tighten the grub screw. Holds the control rod to the shaft. So it lifts up the 3 chime hammers. Right, we can adjust that later on. That's that on. Right, and now we'll put the pallet full assembly and pendulum hanger and bridge. You have to put the pendulum arm through the clutch before you assemble it, otherwise it won't fit afterwards. So that goes in there above the pallet fork. Let's just line this up with the hole. Just get one side loosely started. Put the washer underneath the bridge on the other side. Like that. Get it loosely started. So that's rocking up and down there like that. So that's approximately right. So I can Screw those up with confidence. There we go. Okay, so let's show the operation of the chime and strike mechanism. At the moment we've got it set up here on the rig. It's ticking away nicely. We'll put the hands back on. It's 5 o'clock at the moment, and here's the rack and the snail, which will come into action when we get to the strike. And over here we have what I call it the 4-4 wheel, but at the moment you'll see when I turn the wheel round to quarter past, the 4 levers on the cannon pinion there will rotate with the minute hand. So let's just show it in action. So let's just go to quarter past. So we'll go slowly. You saw the flywheel there, which is it going into warning, and when we get to quarter past, here we go. You see the wheel going, and that's the first of the chimes going on there. We'll go along again, and that was one of the short pins on the cannon pinion lifting these levers. So we'll go around to half past. Again, going into warning as we get close to it. These are raising, and when we get there it drops and the count wheel goes round and it chimes the half hour. We'll go around again towards quarter 2 into warning, and we get to quarter 2, the levers drop, the count wheel starts to go around, and we get the extra long chime for the 3/4 hours. So there we are at the quarter 2 position, and if you notice on this 4-4 wheel here, there is an extra raised edge for the next part. So as the minute hand goes round to the 12, the longer lug will move these levers up a little bit further and raise it out of that slot there. So let me show you. Also, as the levers go up higher, it will release the rack down, and this will land onto the 6 o'clock position on the snail. So let's show that in action. Raising up. You saw the warning wheel for the strike going into action there, and there was the warning wheel for the chime going in. So as I saw in the setup, it's so important that the pin on the warning wheels is at the 12 o'clock position when we got there, and you see it's now dropped the rack, and here we go. So it's now going round. You get the 4 sequences of chimes for the hour. That finishes, and now the gathering pallet is rotating round and it's counting down the strikes, and you can see the strikes going up and down there. So there we have it. That's one complete cycle. So we go around again to the quarter of the hour, into warning, Ding dong, ding dong. And that's a quarter of hour. Half past. Quarter two. Rotating. And the chime going. That's the 3 short lugs lifting the levers. Now the next one at the hour will be the longer lug. It'll lift a bit further and it will raise and it will drop the rack. So we show that. Both going into warning, and that drops the rack, and here we go. And the gathering pallet starts to rotate in a second once the chime is finished. See it going around, stop, there we are, and there it starts to rotate, and it lifts the rack up. And it's now counting 6. And chiming. Striking. There we are. So that's that. Now, let me show you the autocorrect mechanism. Say, for example, we forgot to wind up the chime. So I can simulate that just by putting my fingers on the flywheel there, and we go to quarter past. Nothing happens because it's wound down. We go to half past. Levers drop, but nothing happens. Now, say we wind up the chime. And we go to quarter two. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. It's only done a chime for the half hour. And if we go up to the hour, ding, 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 ding. So it's out of sequence. It's only chimed the 3/4 hour at the hour. Now, this is where the autocorrect comes in. You'll see the position here. We have the raised edge on the end there. Now, as we go around to quarter past, nothing happens because the lever hasn't raised up enough to take that out of the slot. So that's nothing at the quarter past. Go around to the half hour. Again, nothing happens because it can't get through there. We're into the quarter two. Nothing. But now, as we get to the hour, and we've got the long point on the cannon pinion there, just coming round, we'll see this raise, and you see it's come out of the slot now. So when we get back to there, it will now chime for the hour, and it is now striking the 8 o'clock. So it's a self-correcting mechanism. It doesn't matter if you forget to wind it. when it comes round to the hour again, it will self-correct. So within an hour to 2 hours maximum, it will self-correct itself. Some people see it's out of action and they'll actually try to move the hands, but that doesn't do anything. That won't help the self-corrections. You just leave it alone and it will sort itself out. So there we are, we're at 8 o'clock. So now if I go around to 1:15, there we are, we're back into action with the 1:15. So that's the mechanism explained. We'll now put it back into the case and see what's going on. On the back of the clock, the wheels that control the chime in action, the first wheel is in place, held in place with a grub screw. If you undo that grub screw, you can rotate that wheel. And it will change the sequence of the hammers. And so you rotate it till you get the right sequence, and then you can tighten up the screw there. So that's how that's done. The clock can now go back to its owner and he'll be able to hear the chimes again, something he hasn't heard for many a year.